So Saquon declined to sign his franchise tag. In other words, I think we're already about to see Daniel Jones's contract start to affect the team. Now, I really don't know what I would do if I was the Giants because like I've said before, I wouldn't pay a running back probably more than about $12 million max. So if Saquon wants more than that, I would just let him go. Now, if the Giants aren't willing to pay that, then that's kind of on them, but I think the franchise tag is like 10, so not quite sure what Saquon is actually looking for. On an unrelated note, I hate the Timberwolves, and I hate Rudy Gobert, and I just hate basketball. Anyway, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, and happy Wednesday. Today's video, we are going to be going ahead and giving the tight ends a Madden rating. Again, shout out to everybody who made me a list. I am going to continue to roll with my boy Will just because his, again, looks the best. But anybody who puts time in it, man, guys, it means a lot to me. Couple of quick plugs before we start. One, head over to gfuel.com, use code WyattzWorld, save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products. And two, if you're 18 years or older, head over to Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where code WyattzWorld will match up to $100 of your first deposit. But remember, always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, so here is the list today, and I'm not even going to explain it because you guys already know. This is their overalls. Very self-explanatory. I do want to mention that this list is a little bit more linear than usual though. And the reason I'm doing that is because on the other list that Michael made me, which was really good, there is like 8 people I just couldn't even name. These guys, for the most part, are all familiar faces. So anyway, our first tight end is Tyler Higbee, and I would give him an 84. Tight ends, you know, you look at them a little bit differently than wide receivers and running backs. You don't expect as much out of them. But with that being said, Higbee has been a very consistent tight end over the last 4 years at least with the Rams, at least 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's also come up huge for Matt Stafford several times in the 2 years that he's been there. He's a quality tight end, borderline above average. Moving on, we got Dawson Knox. I would actually give him an 86. That might be biased, but dude, I see him make some incredible plays. He's also nearly impossible to tackle. He's really fast, and he's Josh Allen's oh shit target when nobody's open, man. Like, he's a very, very good tight end. He just needed to develop self-confidence, which I think he's finally doing. That'll bring us to Pat Freiermuth. He's another 86. He's had 60 receptions each of the 2 years he's been around. You target him in the end zone, he's capable of hauling in touchdowns like nobody else. I know 2022 wasn't as good as his rookie year, but they also had a rookie quarterback. I think he's gonna be a dog. Next up, we got Mike Gesicki. I'm gonna go 85. I think Mike is great. I just don't think he has ever really been used to his fullest potential. This guy's 6'6", 250 pounds. You throw a ball at him, there's not a good chance anybody's gonna be able to beat him to it. Proven over the course of many years also that he can be used as a receiving tight end, but the Dolphins just kind of faded away from that. I don't know why. I'm curious to see what he does in New England. Moving on, we got my ball, Zach Ertz, 81. He hasn't played a full year since 2018. He's 32 years old. Kind of the Julio Jones story. You know, at one point he was one of the best tight ends in the league, but he's just slowed down and kind of faded away. Still capable, but you know, 11 years in the league, it's just injuries and your body breaking down. Up next, we've got Hayden Hurst. Man, 79. I like Hayden. I've been a fan of him pretty much ever since he's been in Baltimore. But much like Gesicki, he has just never been used to his fullest potential, and I'm starting to think maybe he just doesn't have a lot of full potential. Much as I like this guy too, he reminds me of CJ Uzomah. Now, they'll get a bomb a game, but aside from that, they just really don't do a lot. Moving on, we got TJ Hawkinson. 90. He's been one of the best tight ends in the league for like 3 years, man. 2020 was kind of his breakout year in Detroit. This year he got traded to the Vikings, ended his complete season with 914 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a tight end who can block. He's a tight end who can get you 12 receptions in a game. He's a tight end who can get you 4 touchdowns in a game. Really, whatever you need him to be, I think he's fantastic. Up next, we got Mark Andrews, 93. Kind of stinks that he had to miss 2 games this year, but it was only 2, and he played very good when he was around, and he was used, I should say. The one thing Mark Andrews has against him is he is kind of hit or miss, but majority of the time he comes up in big spots, and he literally will win you a ball game. 1,300 receiving yards last year. This year he fell down to like 850. Still had 5 touchdowns to show for it, and like I said, he even missed 2 games. Moving on, we got Dallas Goedert. I'd go 89. He always filled in for Zach Ertz when he got hurt over there, and he's really filled in for Zach Ertz since Zach Ertz has been traded out of there. Extremely consistent too. He's gonna get you 50 receptions, 600 yards, and 4 touchdowns a year. Now we're on to Dalton Schultz. 87. He's a good tight end. He really broke out in 2020. In the last 3 years, he's been, I would say, top 10 in the league. Fantastic set of hands on the guy. I'm just upset with where he went, the Texans. Like, he could really help them be good, but he should have went somewhere that's a little bit more stabilized. Now we are on to Gerald Everett, arguably top 10 all time. On a serious note though, I'd probably give him a strong 83. That might be underrated to some people because I know he's had some huge fantasy games, but again, guys, fantasy, real life football, kind of different. I do think he's solid, which 83 is a very solid rating. But guys, he wouldn't have played on 3 teams in 6 years if he was the god that some people think he is. Now we're on to the most controversial tight end on this list, Kyle Pitts. Okay, for one, Arthur Smith is basically admitted to not really caring about how much they use him. But 2, he got hurt and pretty much missed this whole year after his rookie season where he did catch for 1,000 yards, but only 1 touchdown. Talent-wise, I still think Kyle Pitts has potential to be one of the greatest tight ends we're ever gonna see. As far as what we have actually gotten to watch, no, I can't give him the credit I want to. I'm gonna give him an 88, and that's probably gonna be ridiculous to some people, but his build is essentially Kelvin Johnston. They need to get a rhythm there. After Kyle Pitts, we got Noah Fant. He's an 82. I would love to see him get, a more complete, bigger role. Noah Fant was a first-round draft pick, if I'm not mistaken, when he was in Denver. Now we are on to Travis Kelce. He's a 99. Let's not be dumb. And I'll just go ahead and say this too. I think he's probably the GOAT. I know I'll get shot at for that, but realistically, I think he is the best tight end ever. In the last 7 years, he's had over 1,000 yards every year and over 10 touchdowns 3 times. It's honestly annoying as to how good he is and how timeless he is. Next up, we got David Njoku, one of the biggest question marks of all time, one of the biggest what ifs of all time. Still to this day, a big what if. Bro, if this guy never ever got hurt from the start of his career, I think he would probably be recognized as one of the best tight ends in the league. He's just always been banged up, but this year he did play a considerable amount and he was good. He showed why they paid him. I'd give him an 86. Moving on, we got Austin Hooper. Here we go, 73. His career should have escalated after leaving Atlanta and it just went down. After Austin Hooper, we got Mercedes. 70? For one, that's his age, and for 2, he barely even plays anymore. And it's not because he's hurt, guys. It's because he's legitimately had a 17-year NFL career. Now we move on to Darren Waller. He ain't a 90 anymore, he's an 89. 2 years ago, he just kind of underperformed. Last year, he missed a lot of time. Certainly still one of the best and most talented tight ends in the league, but we can't be acting like he's in, the top 3 percentile anymore, especially when the guy just hasn't been around. Moving on, we got Hunter Henry. 84. I think he's just like Tyler Higbee. He can come up big when you need him to. He can be deadly in the end zone if you need him to. The guy's been around for like 6-7 years, and he's put up consistent numbers every single year, even despite being on 2 teams. Now we're on to Evan Ingram. Massive bounce back. He was the Evan Ingram I thought he was when he entered the league. Career high, 766 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. I honestly think he's going to continue to do really good. I'm going to bump him up to 85. After Evan Ingram, we got Cole Kmet. Finally showed up in the end zone this year with 7 touchdowns. Also caught 544 yards. I think he's going to be a big part of that Chicago offense. I was impressed with him. I'd also give him 84. Now we're on to Robert Tonyan. Really thought highly of this guy when he had 11 touchdowns, but ever since then, he's been kind of just irrelevant. I would say he's a solid 78. That brings us to Kittle, 97. Injuries are another thing, but in the last 2 years, he really hasn't missed all that much. Especially this year where he played 15 out of the 17, had 11 touchdowns, and received for 700 yards. One of the most explosive tight ends in the league who can also just do whatever you need him to. When I say this guy can block, I mean he's like Trent Williams. He can pancake a motherfucker. And ending, we've got the guy who I'm not sure. It's either Jake Hollister or Will Dissly. I want to say it's Will Dissly. He's another guy I'll give a 76 to, I guess. I feel like he's been pretty irrelevant through the last couple of years, but I mean, he's not terrible. And that is it, guys, for me giving Madden ratings to NFL tight ends. What'd you guys think of this list? I think it's okay. The only one that I look at and I really think people are gonna hate is Kyle Pitts. I think I gave him way too much, but it's my video! Anyway, guys, that is going to be all for today. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, you already know what to do to show support, and you guys know I appreciate any and all help. With everything I just said, though, I'm going to hop off and get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.